push through. I ain't got nothing to prove to you. Just doing what I gotta do. Don't care, face what I'm always gonna push through.
This is Eric Diamond and David Miller bringing you the next episode of Based on a True Struggle. David, how are you?
I'm doing good as usual. How are you?
I'm doing well, man. Other than the drive-in, it's like the scene from The Shining.
Yeah.
You guys get a ton of snow in Ashtabula. I don't know if you knew that.
About 7 months worth.
We have two seasons, winter and the 4th of July. All right, man. So today we've got a special episode. We've got our very first guest.
Yeah, he's an awesome guy. He's a local artist who's been doing a lot of phenomenal work for the city, within the city. He wears his city on his back. I think a lot of times people who know this gentleman probably look at him and assume that they might know his story. And what we wanted to do today is to reveal to many of the people who know him and many of the people who don't that there is far more than meets the eye with this gentleman who goes by the name of Chris Rabb.
Chris, very first guest. How you doing, man?
What's going on, gentlemen? How are you?
Cool.
Good.
So, Chris, just give us a little background on you.
I'm an artist. Grew up in Cleveland. Came out to Beulah about 12 years ago, and have a deep pride for where I reside.
What brought you to our fair city of Ashtabula County?
Beulah?
It was a lot of moving and a lot of hardships, and I gradually moved east until I got here.
So, give us your take on Ashtabula City.
Underrated.
Underrated. Cool. I'd say
good.
that too.
Yeah.
Delve into it. What do you think's underrated about it?
Everything. Art scene. I think people assume it's not as progressive as it actually is. Some of the people that don't get to see the behind-the-scenes stuff that's going on currently and previously are left to their assumptions, and I think their assumptions are wrong.
Now, the arts in this city are grossly underrated, I would say.
Correct.
You mentioned something about people not understanding what's happening behind the scenes. Could you speak a little bit more about some of those things? Maybe not a lot, but just some things that you see from the artist perspective that are kind of bubbling under the surface.
I think that Ashtabula County as a whole has the largest plethora of artists, yet we tend to get overlooked because we're not a large city like Cleveland or Erie.
I agree.
Cool, man. So, as you know, this whole series is based on a true struggle, and David and I have got to know you over the last 12, 18 months, and you've got an amazing story. What is the struggle that Chris Rabb has gone through?
The struggle that Chris Rabb has gone through. So we're going to start early, and I'm going to try and make it quick. Was born into a house with a drug addict mother. Came out addicted to Valium. Ended up having a stepfather. It was a crooked cop. Life as a whole was pretty harsh. A lot of physical abuse, a lot of verbal abuse, a little bit of sexual abuse. As we spiral forward, things like at 14 years old, I was going to doctors to get prescriptions via my mother. Ended up using with my mother, me and all my friends. So my house was pretty much a collective party house. In 1999, after years and years of my own and my mother's drug addiction, she OD'd. I had to make the choice to take her off life support. We took her off life support. That was in March of 99. In May, I woke up to an empty house. The crooked cop stepfather had taken off. From 99 on, I spiraled out a crazy rate through my own drug addiction. I had a daughter in 01, which is my life. And then in 04, I went homeless and stayed at Project Hope for the Homeless. 05, I got sober, and now I'm on 13 years sobriety.
Wow.
Congratulations, man.
Yeah, amazing. So with your mother, that whole period with her, how close were you and her?
Super close. That was my world.
And did you remain close through the usage as well?
Absolutely. In fact, I think that as much as it's not condonable, I think that was also one of the things that we had in common and we could share.
Right.
Almost a best friend and a mother.
So when you lost your mother in 1999 and you had to make the decision to pull the plug, if you will, how did that affect you, not only at that time, but what were you able to take away from that moving forward, and how has it affected you since?
I mean, it was harsh. It was really hard to deal with. You know, there was a period of time where I felt like I had taken her life because I had to take her off support. It also made me reflect on what not to be, and I still battle with that. And in fact, one of the things that I kind of left out of my story is in '05, I actually overdosed. It's 6.5 times the lethal limit of a drug.
You did.
Yes.
Wow.
So,
Chris, as you think through your struggle, what was the spark that got you on the road to sobriety?
my overdose,
That was it.
for sure.
Yeah, that was the wake-up call.
Yeah, I mean, I almost, left the planet. I didn't complete half of what I wanted to as a person. I almost left my daughter behind without a father. I mean, there were many, many things that added to that.
How old were you at the time?
24, 25.
So walk us through what that struggle was like getting clean.
Getting clean was not easy. It's I think it gets easier as time goes on. It's a lot of hard work. If you're not determined to do it, I think it's almost impossible, actually.
Yeah. There are a lot of people who, our county is notorious. Maybe I think we're a product of our own success. We're notorious for having issues with the opioids and the different addictions. If you could speak just very quickly to someone who may be currently going through that period that you found yourself in, what is it that they can tap into to help them kind of emerge out of this?
So, as a whole, what I usually tell people is, you're given a million tools, and nobody's more responsible for your sobriety or getting clean than you are. Mm-hmm. So using the tools is key. Wanting it's key. And accountability.
Okay, so what did it for you? Was it the art? Was it a person? Who were you accountable to? And
I was just accountable to the fact that I almost left this planet for a little bit of fun, and it was really it was a earth shatter for me. I mean, there was just no other way after the overdose. Mm-hmm. Absolutely no other way.
How has your struggle influenced your art?
So, ironic story. The person who gave me the same drug that I OD'd off of was also the same person to give me my first paintbrush. Now, I had doodled, and I was even prohibited from having Sharpie markers in high school, but I didn't take it seriously until I had a plethora of time on my hands. So when I had OD'd, I ended up with horrible panic attacks, which I still have to this day. In fact, I've only left the town about 12 times in 12 years. I had all this time, and I needed something to exhaust that with, and that's where art became an outlet or a venue, so to speak.
Yeah. People suffer from anxiety and panic attacks. I think more people suffer from that than they care to share. It is an issue. Well, recently there was a column that was released with Kevin Love, mm-hmm. and how he has been going through these panic and anxiety attacks. You, on the other hand, are someone who deals with them frequently,
For sure.
and they have been kind of isolating.
Absolutely. In fact, one of the things that most people don't know that I don't put out there is everything I've completed as far as accomplishments have all been done within about a square mile of my house. Like
Wow.
I said, I've only left Beulah 12 times in 12 years, and when I say left, I'm talking Paynesville counts as left. You know what I mean? So my whole existence has been a mile from the house.
Right. And I think that's amazing. You operate within your comfort zone. I tried to get you to come to Conneaut.
Not happening.
Right.
I'd love to. It's just it's more turmoil inside of me than progress.
Right. I get it. I totally get it. So you've done some amazing things with the arts. Could you elaborate a little bit on what you've done in the city?
So I was in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in '09, which is what kind of set things off, '09 or 2010.
Dope.
I did a 72-foot mural at Smithfield. I've done numerous murals in churches. There's literally awards from every single form of government except president. Mm-hmm. city commissioners, senators, House of Representatives.
40 under 40.
Top 45 or top 5 under 45, yes, sir.
That's a great accomplishment.
Congratulations, man.
Thanks.
What motivates you?
Wow, that's a loaded question. Art obviously motivates me. Other people dealing with struggles and helping them motivates me. Watching other people succeed definitely motivates me.
It's pretty cool.
This town motivates me. You know, this town gets such a bad rap sometimes, and it's full of beautiful, wonderful people. You know,
Right.
and everybody chooses to not accent the positive things that are going on, and we just kind of focus on the negative. So I would say life as a whole and everything that surrounds me is a motivator.
You seem to be pretty motivated because I don't know, but there's a rumor that you started your very own nonprofit organization.
This I did.
Awesome. We're going to delve into that after the break. This is Eric and David with Chris Rabb in the house, based on a true struggle. This episode of Based on a True Struggle is brought to you by Westport Capital Consultants. Westport Capital is a premier group of economic development specialists and consultants. Westport Capital's mission is to spur local economic and neighborhood growth by finding innovative solutions to the toughest community development issues of our day. Through their unique skill set and a passion for out-of-the-box thinking, the team at Westport Capital will work to make your community a more prosperous, equitable, and desirable place to live and start a business. Check them out at www.westportcapital.com. We are back. This is Eric and David, based on a true struggle. Chris Rabb in the house. How's everyone feeling?
Good, man. I'm excited about this interview. It's deep.
It is deep. So, Chris, before the break, we started to delve into this rumor of a nonprofit. Walk us through it.
So when I came into town, I noticed that we had beautiful facilities that operated and did art, and they were wonderful things. I also noticed where we were lacking, and there's a lot of people that don't have opportunity that I think we could tap into that to better help the city. So as a whole, Rabstractive is a 501c3 visual arts nonprofit. It's designed to develop and provide art opportunities and to create outlets for others via interaction with their community.
So what does that mean?
So art has politics like anything else.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes the self-taught people or the people that may not have enough money to delve into really expensive gear, or maybe they've learned how to paint by themselves, have trouble getting the same opportunities as somebody that maybe has a BA in arts.
Mm-hmm.
What does success for Rabstractive look like?
Helping their community be a better place.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a money thing. It's not how many people are in it. It's just helping the community be a better place.
What was your inspiration for it?
Whew. There's a lot of them. I've always been one of them people that has to create my own lane, and so I just tried to create a lane in which I could operate in. So my inspiration was giving other people opportunities that a lot of people needed opportunities, and a lot of people were looking for venues to release through, and they couldn't find them.
Right. You say you've been here 12 years.
Correct.
And out of those 12 years, what's your take on the state of our community in terms of, are we going backwards? Are we trending forward?
Definitely not going backwards.
Okay.
Are we a little behind? Absolutely. You know, in comparison to Cleveland, we're way behind.
Mm-hmm.
Are we doing wonderful things? Yes. And I think all those things are starting to really bear fruit.
So I was really interested when we were thinking about this episode and having you on. You know, I do a lot of economic development work, and I'm a big believer that arts transform communities, and arts mean many different things. I mean, I think entrepreneurship at sometimes is an art, but I wanted to get your take on exactly how you feel artists can transform this city of Ashtabula.
Wow, there's a million ways, and I'm gonna throw out some references that I don't know directly correlate to Beulah, but are an idea. In Detroit, there was a program that was allowing artists to come in, acquire buildings. They paid a minimal fee. They all redid the building, and then they owned it when they were done, so they could run a co-op or a commune or whatever. And they single-handedly took over basically whole city blocks and transformed them, and now they've become places to go. And we'll use Ohio City or Gordon Square or 78th Street or any of the places in Cleveland that are huge meccas now that at one time people kind of didn't even want to go through, to be fair.
Right.
No, I mean, that's incredibly true. I mean, if you look at the Gordon Square Arts District, that was an area 10 years ago where you wouldn't drive through in the middle of the day with a cop.
Right.
And now it's where some of the best studios are, some where the best food is being produced from a culinary standpoint. And it's amazing. So if we look at that kind of transformation, what do we need to do to have that happen here in Ashtabula?
Wow. So there's a million things. But to be more concise about it, I suppose we need to get everybody together, start creating a plan down the road instead of everybody kind of just running off and doing something. I think it's going to take a lot of hard work and a lot of communication and cooperation from everybody else. I mean, it's a team thing. It's not, there's no one person that built up Gordon. There's no one person that built up 78th. There's no one person that is helping Slavic Village turn around now. That's a community. I cannot stress the word community enough.
No, that's a great take. On a different subject, but not too far away. It's been my experience through this life and through my conversations with other people who have had a struggle and seemingly are successful today, or at least maintaining, that they all have a person in their life who was monumental in helping them either A, be accountable, or B, be like a mentor figure in their life. Who is that person for Chris Rabb?
I don't even know that there is a specific person. I think it's changed as time's gone on.
Okay.
I have a bunch of people I love and look up to. I would say my daughter, myself, and it sounds crazy, but almost since my mom's been gone, just even for my mom, it gets really weird because I was always told I couldn't. And that has almost been the same drive that has created do, because I was always told I couldn't.
Right. And so what I see here is that, for everybody it's different, right? But at its core, there's this ambition, there's this motivation, this desire to change. And it can be different. I think that's fair. I mean, like in your life, Eric, has it been the same person like motivating you all your life?
No, it's definitely been different, and it's definitely been I'm kind of this big believer that people are put in your life for a reason for that specific time. When I look at people who motivate me now, and my business partner, Gordon Premer, is huge inspiration to me. But I've only met Gordon in the last 5 years. I've talked previously about Philip Lynch. He'd been a big motivating factor in my life. In high school, and my early college days, I think I didn't have that. I didn't have that person, and I look back, and those were some of the more troubled times that I'd gotten myself into.
Yeah.
Like when you don't have that moral compass to come up and slap you inside the head and say you're headed off track, that's it becomes you're kind of that ship without a leader. And now I actively seek out mentors. I think we all can learn from people of all different backgrounds, and that's kind of my also philosophy on building a business and building a community. We don't want everyone to look the same that's on our team that's trying to rebuild Ashtabula, right? We need artists, and we need people, that came from the mud, and we need politicians, and we need people that have a vested interest, and we need them all to come together and do something, and that something is just anything. Let's try. And I think arts is a huge component of that.
I do too. I fancy myself as an artist, but I'm not nearly as artistic as one Chris Rabb. But I definitely appreciate your energy and your willingness to be here with us today. I do have a couple more questions, though. One of those questions are, with you coming from everything that you've come from, your struggle, your mother's addiction, even your own overdose, every morning you wake up, and let's talk briefly about addiction. Is it something that you're constantly facing, or are you over that hump, or does that motivate the art? I mean, does that motivate the man who is Chris Rabb, or do you not even pay attention to that anymore?
I don't need. So, I mean, it pops in from time to time. Handling life in real time is always an issue. I'd say after the first 2 years of sobriety, it sort of evened itself out. I think if somebody, and I don't want to speak lightly of this because it's not easy, but I think if somebody's determined enough, that determination kind of overpowers everything.
Right. Do you experience stress?
For sure.
How do you handle that?
Art.
Art?
Yeah, for sure.
Fair. Eric, do you experience stress?
Yeah. And, the interesting thing is I've had a hard time managing stress over the years. And, it's funny. I know when I'm too stressed out because I have the same reoccurring dream that I am in an airport that I don't know where, and I'm about to miss my plane.
Wow.
And for a long time, I couldn't figure out why I kept having that dream. And then I realized it was my mind telling me I wasn't on the right path. And I think I experienced a lot more stress, including panic attacks. I mean, I identify with that. Back when I was in the corporate world, the stress I have now is, odd to say, but it's just a stress of everyday life and trying to do many, many different things. But it's a stress that is manageable, and it's not a stress that is harmful. I mean, I do think there's harmful stress, and then there's just stress that motivates you. But I think someone's lying if they say they don't have stress.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was lying for about 18 years of my life. I didn't experience stress like I do today, but probably because I was so deeply immersed in the mud that I couldn't process stress. Like, I saw other people's stress, so I always thought I took a place of gratitude and appreciation. So it wasn't until I became a father, a husband, that I started realizing, oh boy, this stuff is real. Like, it's really, really real. And I better get it together, or else I'm going to have a generation of people who might have some links missing in the chain because of my laziness, right? So, yeah, I think stress is important. My wife got me hip to this theory of eustress. Like, there's this idea that, like you said, there's the good stress. Yep. That's what we call eustress. And then there's this bad stress, which a lot of times comes from other sources. It's not from within. And the stress that we put on ourselves, like that dream that you keep having, is an indicator. And you could use that.
Hey, Chris, I've been sitting here thinking, as an artist, and I always admire artists because they put themselves out there. And, how do you deal with other people's negativity around your art if that ever happens?
It happens all the time. So you gotta persevere. Art is one of those things where it's not a commodity people need, or as I would say, they need it. They just don't know it yet. Some people don't understand the economic value in art like you do. So, you have to brush it off. To be more concise, I guess. It's
no
gonna
pun
happen.
intended.
Yeah.
Brush it off.
It's gonna happen either way. And you have to rise above it, just like any, is there not hate in the banking field? I'm sure there is. Or at least tensions, politics, whatever,
Greed.
Right.
Yeah.
And so you just fight it with positivity, I guess. I hate to sound so cliche, but it's really what it comes down to.
I went to MoMA in New York, and I was amazed at the amount of art pieces that are hanging up that I could do. Seriously.
True story.
Okay, so why is it that someone like Andy Warhol could drop a paintbrush on a canvas and it accidentally makes these splashes and it sells for millions?
I don't even want to answer that.
No?
I really have that answer is so subjective.
Okay.
That I think everybody has a view. But I'll put it like this. I myself have had to go to our own city back before anybody knew who I was and thoroughly go through all these different offices in the city just to get a small task done. Whereas now when I ask to do something, ears kind of bend a little bit. Mm-hmm. Not saying it's any harder or easier, but it's, I've proven myself. And so to whatever degree, anything you think you can do that you see there, those people in somehow, some way either knew the right people or proved themselves, or just like our stories.
Yeah.
Sometimes we see hindsight and we don't understand what's actually behind it.
Good stuff. I don't discount their work. I do understand, like you just said, that you've proven yourself. So, the strokes of your pencil on a canvas are more valuable than someone like me who's not an artist, and I think that's a lot of times where the disconnect is with the general public in terms of them not really noticing that art is a commodity, or how you said it, they need it, but they don't know it yet.
Right.
At some point, there'll be a fonder appreciation. And I think that's what your message is. That's what Rabstractive is about, raising awareness and giving opportunity to artists so they can have a voice, right?
For sure.
Okay.
100%.
Chris, what is one thing that we should have asked you, or one thing that you wish people would ask you more?
Wow. I don't even know, brother. I guess it's not even so much what people should ask me. It's more, I wish we had less politics in the sense of red tape. I wish people weren't so judgmental and work together more. I always resort this back to Ashtabula, but we have such a beautiful mecca here. We're halfway in between Cleveland and Erie. It's got so much potential, and I feel like sometimes the same hindrances are such superficial things.
Yeah, I get that. Tell us what's next for Chris Rabb.
Wow, I don't know. Full steam ahead in the nonprofit. I've got my own personal show coming up. The nonprofit itself is doing a show at Community Counseling Center. We're possibly doing a festival down here in Ashtabula. We're doing a chalk walk. Then the Chalk Box gym, we're doing a mural in. So it's moving right along.
Where can we find out about all this stuff that you're up to?
So the website's currently going up now, and that's www.rabstractive.org. And then it's Rabstractive on every social media, and that's RAABSTRACTIVE.
Dude, this has been super, super informative. We really appreciate you coming out and doing this and letting the listeners into your struggle. It means a lot to us. Any final thoughts, David?
I think you're an awesome dude. I think that you have had a tremendous impact on our city, and I think now, instead of people looking at your art, they'll see you as a person. And I think that's going to do a lot of really great things for people. And I will also wrap up by saying, I think that you permeate more hope than you know. People can look at you and now they know a little bit about what you've been through. And that is inspiring in and of itself, because we don't know who we reach on this podcast. But I can imagine that somebody somewhere is in a place where you once were, and now, after you opening up to us today, they feel a little bit more inspired and a little bit more hope. And that's admirable, and I thank you for being on the show.
Truth.
Thanks for having me.
Chris, we really appreciate it. Keep doing what you're doing. This is Eric and David, based on a true struggle. Until next time, peace.
Peace. You got to say peace.
Peace.